The second, Ethan's fingers intertwined with Liam's across the small wooden table at Harbor Diner in their quiet Midwest city. The friendly buzz of the cafe died instantly. "We don't serve people like you here." The owner, Mr. Reynolds, spat out loud enough for the whole room to hear, his face twisted in disgust as he pointed toward the door. What was supposed to be their quiet anniversary dinner had turned into a public humiliation in a matter of seconds. Ethan felt his stomach drop, the warmth of Liam's hand suddenly feeling like a spotlight on all his deepest fears. He had always been careful, especially around family who still didn't know the full truth about his life. Liam squeezed his hand tighter, his voice steady but eyes flashing with anger. "Excuse me? What kind do you think we are?" The other customers turned their heads, some whispering, others looking away uncomfortably. Mr. Reynolds, a burly man in his 50s with a faded apron, crossed his arms. "The kind that makes this place look bad. Get out before I call the cops." Ethan stood up shakily, pulling Liam with him, his cheeks burning as they walked out into the cool evening air. The door slammed behind them, and Ethan could hear the murmurs inside growing louder. "This can't be happening," he muttered, his voice breaking slightly. Liam pulled him into a hug right there on the sidewalk, ignoring the stares from passers-by. "It's okay, Ethan. We'll deal with it. People like him are the problem, not us." But Ethan knew it wasn't that simple. His mind raced back to the last time he had visited his parents in the suburbs, how he had dodged questions about dating, how his dad had joked about real men finding good wives. The incident replayed in his head as they drove home in silence, the radio playing some upbeat song that felt mocking. Back at their apartment, Liam made coffee while Ethan paced. "Maybe we should have just let it go," Ethan said finally, sitting on the couch. Liam shook his head. "No way. This is bigger than us. Someone needs to see this for what it is." Unbeknownst to them, a young woman at a nearby table had pulled out her phone the moment Mr. Reynolds raised his voice. The video she uploaded later that night started with the exact words of refusal and captured the entire confrontation, including their exit. By midnight, it had a few hundred views, but Ethan was too exhausted to check social media. He fell asleep in Liam's arms, unaware that by morning, their lives would never be the same. The next day at work, Ethan's phone buzzed nonstop. Colleagues who had seen the clip texted him with support or questions, and his boss even pulled him aside to ask if he was okay. Ethan forced a smile, saying it was nothing, but inside his chest tightened with every notification. Liam called during lunch, his voice calm but urgent. "It's blowing up, Ethan. Over 10,000 views already." Ethan stared at his screen later that afternoon, watching the video himself for the first time. The comments poured in, some calling Mr. Reynolds a bigot, others defending him with old-fashioned values. Ethan closed the app, his hands trembling. He thought about his parents, miles away in their small town, and prayed they wouldn't stumble across it. But as the afternoon wore on, the shares multiplied, and Ethan realized the nightmare was just beginning. That evening, they sat together on the couch, scrolling through the growing storm online. Liam tried to stay positive, talking about how this could spark real conversations, but Ethan could only feel the weight of every "I now" turned their way. The simple act of holding hands had ripped open a door he wasn't ready to walk through, and there was no closing it now. Ethan's mind drifted back 2 years to the night they first met at a mutual friend's house party in the city. The music had been loud, the room packed with laughter, and Liam had been the guy in the corner with the easy smile who asked about Ethan's graphic design work instead of the usual small talk. They had talked for hours about everything from favorite books to dreams of traveling the country. And by the end of the night, Ethan had felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years, a spark of genuine connection without the usual guard up. Liam had been out and proud since college, teaching history at the local high school and volunteering at the community center, while Ethan had spent most of his 20s hiding pieces of himself from his conservative family. Their first date had been a quiet walk in the park, hands brushing but not quite holding until the third time they met. Now, watching the video climb past 50,000 views, Ethan wondered if that careful life was over. The comments kept coming, some supportive from strangers calling for boycotts of the diner, others vicious and personal. "This is why we can't have nice things," one read, while another said, "Good for the owner. keeping things normal. Ethan's anxiety spiked as he refreshed the page again and again. Liam sat beside him, rubbing his back. "Hey, breathe. We're in this together." But Ethan couldn't shake the fear that his parents would see it. His phone rang that night, and sure enough, it was his sister. "Ethan, what is this video?" Dad's asking questions. The conversation was short and tense, Ethan dodging as best he could, but the damage was spreading. The next morning, local news picked it up, and suddenly their faces were on the evening broadcast. Ethan called in sick to work, hiding in the apartment while Liam went to school like normal. At lunch, Liam brought home takeout, and they talked for hours about the past, how Ethan's upbringing in a small town had taught him to stay quiet, how Liam had helped him open up little by little. The viral storm grew, with hashtags trending and influencers sharing the clip. Ethan felt exposed, like every choice he had made to protect his family was crumbling. Yet in Liam's steady presence, he found a sliver of strength. They decided not to respond publicly yet, letting the video speak for itself. But as night fell and the view count hit hundreds of thousands, Ethan lay awake, wondering if love was worth this kind of spotlight. The misunderstanding with his family loomed larger than the diner's refusal, and he knew a confrontation was coming. Liam whispered reassurances in the dark, but the internal storm raged on, pushing Ethan to question everything he thought he knew about himself and the world around him. By the end of the week, the video had gone mega viral, crossing 1 million views and drawing national attention. Mr. Reynolds appeared on local news, defending his actions with stiff posture and claims that he was just protecting the family atmosphere of his diner. Ethan watched the interview with clenched fists, the owner's words cutting deeper than the initial refusal. Then came the call he had dreaded most, his father on the line, voice thick with disappointment. "Son, is it you in that video? Holding hands with another man like that in public?" The conversation exploded into accusations and silence, his dad hanging up after demanding explanations Ethan wasn't ready to give. The family rejection hit like a wave, reopening old wounds from childhood sermons and sideways glances at holiday gatherings. Ethan spent the next days in a fog, replaying every moment he had hidden his truth to keep the peace. Liam tried to help, suggesting they meet with a counselor or reach out to supportive friends. But Ethan pushed back, the betrayal from his own blood feeling like a fresh wound. At the same time, support poured in from unexpected places, co-workers sending encouraging messages and strangers tagging them in posts about equality. The diner started losing customers, with online reviews flooding in and protesters gathering outside on weekends. Ethan felt torn between anger at Mr. Reynolds and guilt for the chaos their simple gesture had caused. One evening, an old college friend called, offering to organize a rally, but Ethan declined, the pressure of public identity too overwhelming. Flashbacks to family dinners where he had laughed off dating questions haunted him, and the identity crisis deepened. Liam held him through the tears, sharing stories of his own coming-out struggles years earlier. "You don't have to do this alone," Liam said, but Ethan wondered if he could ever fully step into the light without losing the people who raised him. The societal pushback grew, with some media outlets framing the story as overblown while others celebrated the couple's quiet dignity. Misunderstandings piled up, a co-worker making awkward jokes at the office, and Ethan started avoiding calls from relatives. The turning point came when Liam suggested they visit the diner again, not to confront but to talk, but Ethan wasn't ready. The internal battle raged, forcing him to confront the parts of himself he had buried for decades. As the viral wave continued, Ethan realized the choice ahead was no longer about hiding. It was about deciding who he wanted to be when the world was watching. The weeks blurred as the backlash against the diner intensified, with boycotts cutting into Mr. Reynolds' business and local politicians weighing in on the controversy. Ethan and Liam's relationship faced its own tests under the microscope of public scrutiny. Liam suggested they consider marriage someday, a future Ethan had dreamed about but never voiced aloud because of family expectations. Their honest talks late into the night strengthened the bond, but the strain showed in small ways, Ethan snapping over minor things and Liam retreating into work. Friends offered mixed advice, One close buddy even questioning if the relationship was worth the attention, a subtle betrayal that stung deeply. Ethan sacrificed quiet nights at home for strategy sessions with Liam on how to respond, choosing silence to avoid escalating. The diner's owner doubled down at first, posting signs about traditional values, but the empty tables told a different story. Ethan received a message from his sister, a small olive branch amid the family silence, and it sparked a flicker of hope. Together, Ethan and Liam visited a support group for couples facing similar issues, where stories of sacrifice and awakening resonated deeply. Ethan opened up about the pressure of being the good son and how the video had shattered that illusion. Liam shared his own journey of acceptance, reminding Ethan that growth came from facing the consequences head-on. One weekend, they drove to a nearby park, holding hands openly for the first time since the incident, the simple act feeling like a victory. Misunderstandings with extended family continued, emails full of questions and judgments, but Ethan chose not to reply immediately, processing instead with Liam's help. The psychological toll was real. Nights of doubt where Ethan wondered if love required too much sacrifice, but Liam's unwavering support helped him see the bigger picture. As the diner's reputation suffered, whispers reached them that Mr. Reynolds was rethinking his stance, though nothing concrete emerged yet. Ethan's personal growth accelerated, the crisis forcing him to prioritize his own happiness over outdated expectations. Their relationship deepened through the fire, decisions like planning a small trip to escape the noise becoming turning points. The high tension of public life pushed them closer, proving that true partnership meant standing firm when everything else crumbled. The pressure peaked when Mr. Reynolds' own family secrets surfaced indirectly through the viral fallout. Rumors spread that his adult son had reached out privately, sharing struggles that mirrored Ethan's experiences, forcing the owner to confront long-ignored truths at home. Ethan learned this through mutual contact and felt a strange mix of vindication and empathy. At work, the attention became overwhelming, with media requests pouring in, and Ethan had a full breakdown one afternoon, questioning every decision that led to this moment. Liam was there, as always, helping him breathe through the panic and reminding him of their shared strength. They decided it was time to speak out, recording a short video of their own that explained the human side without attacking anyone. The response was overwhelmingly positive, shifting the narrative toward understanding. Family tensions eased slightly when Ethan's mother called, her voice soft with concern, opening a door for cautious dialogue. The owner's business hit rock bottom, tables empty and staff worried, leading to private meetings where Mr. Reynolds began to question his lifelong views. Ethan and Liam agreed to a discreet conversation with him at a neutral spot, the encounter tense but revealing layers of the man's past regrets. Sacrifices continued, Ethan turning down a promotion that would require more visibility until he was ready. The awakening came gradually, Ethan realizing that identity wasn't about perfection, but about living authentically. High emotions filled the air during a quiet dinner at home where they discussed the future, marriage, and building a life beyond the spotlight. The video's impact rippled outward, inspiring other couples to share their stories online. Ethan felt the shift inside, the crisis transforming fear into quiet determination. As Mr. Reynolds' attitude softened in private messages, the path to resolution appeared, but Ethan knew real change required more than words. The psychological consequences of the ordeal had reshaped him, turning internal conflict into a foundation for growth and deeper connection with Liam. Months later, the diner reopened with new signage welcoming everyone, and Mr. Reynolds issued a public statement that surprised the community. He had met Ethan and Liam privately one final time, sharing stories of his own upbringing and the moment his son's quiet confession had cracked his defenses. The apology felt genuine, not just damage control, as he offered free meals and a commitment to training his staff on inclusivity. Ethan accepted it with cautious grace, the encounter closing a chapter while opening new possibilities. Family reconciliation progressed slowly, with his parents visiting for a weekend where awkward conversations led to tentative acceptance. The viral video, once a source of pain, became a catalyst for Ethan's full awakening, allowing him to embrace his life without shame. He and Liam celebrated their anniversary again at the diner, hands intertwined openly this time, the atmosphere warm and changed. Friends gathered for support, and the betrayal from earlier faded against the backdrop of newfound strength. Ethan's career flourished as he channeled the experience into creative projects advocating for acceptance, while Liam continued teaching with renewed passion. The journey had tested every relationship, from love to family to society, but the choices they made led to profound personal growth. Sacrifices and misunderstandings had given way to clarity, proving that facing prejudice head-on could forge unbreakable bonds. As they walked out of the diner that evening, the city lights shining brightly, Ethan felt a peace he had never known. The ordeal had reshaped not just the owner, but everyone touched by the story. True or false? A single viral moment of exposure can lead to real, lasting change in someone's heart, or is it always just damage control?